Hello everyone. Today I would like to talk about the difference between the mind and our inner being. The differences when we're receiving thoughts and responses from the mind versus our inner being. I think this is a subject that a lot of us struggle because many times as we ask questions, as we're trying to make decisions, we tend to think that our mind is the same thing as our inner being. But it's not true. So I just felt that it would be probably a great idea for me to share with you what I've learned about knowing when my mind is the one who's talking versus my inner being. In order for us to have a better understanding of this subject, we first need to become clear that we are a vibrational being and that we live in a reality that is made out of all different kinds of vibration. And before things become manifested in a physical form, they exist in a reality of vibration. In a way, we're not really inventing anything. It is more like we are receivers of information. And all we really have to do is have the desire to know something, become that vibration, so that we can then receive the information from that dimension of all-knowing. It is important to know this because it's very difficult for you to understand what's the mind versus your inner being if you do not realize that you are a vibrational being. The great thing about it is that now science is starting to really catch up with this understanding. So if you happen to be one of those persons that struggle with this understanding that you are vibration and you are constantly changing it based on the way you think and the way you feel, and then maybe it is time for you to do a little research. But in the meantime, I am going to really hope that you already know this, or that you are ready to be open to receive this information and maybe relax a little bit about hearing what I have to say and taking whatever you feel that is going to help you and work for you. Hopefully, it could also be that I'm helping you to sort of water a seed or maybe plant a seed in which maybe not right now, but later as you pay attention to your life, to your thoughts and to your emotions, that you feel somewhat the need or the impulses to follow this understanding and maybe gather more. So, as I said before, we are these vibrational beings that we're part physical and part none. The physical aspect, it becomes, or it is a very small portion of the non-physical, which happens to be much more expansive. The physical aspect has a structure, as you could see, that is made out of body and mind. We have energy centers that we cannot see, but just because we don't see them, it doesn't mean that they're not there. And they're vibrating constantly because they are receivers of information. And as I said, information exists in a vibrational way or form before we receive it, before we translate it. And we can say that we are antennas, that we're capable to always be receiving information, but also translating it. Now, your mind is not the only thing that translates energy or information. Your body does too. Haven't you ever gone and entered in a place, and before you enter you felt really good, and as soon as you go in you feel like something is off? And then your mind looks around and it sees that everything is fine, but yet you seem not to feel good. A lot of times what we do is we comply with the mind and the senses because we see everything is fine, and we tend to override our instincts, and we then stay in the place and suffer. Other times things can happen where the energy can become quite chaotic after that. And when we look back, we say, oh, intuitively I knew it. I had that gut instinct that that was not a good place to be, but I chose to trust my mind. I chose to trust my, senses. So as you can see that your mind and your senses are not the only way that you can receive information, that also your body has the ability to do that. And it's way more efficient than your senses, because your senses are only capable and only created to see physical manifestation. It doesn't have the ability to understand non-physical. While your body doesn't have to translate vibration, it already knows through instinct whether something is right for you or not. So pretty much your body doesn't have to translate it in the way your mind does, so that you can then verbalize what you felt. And think about it. When we're trying to verbalize how we're feeling, most of the time it is hard for us to really find the right words to express how we're feeling. So we can say then, or we can agree that our words is another way in which we express the way that we feel. And we can try to describe it as close as we can to the emotion, but it's never going to be the same. While your body is able to receive information, and through the feeling it knows whether it's right, whether that energy is good or is not. Isn't that wonderful? Wouldn't it be just wonderful to be able to trust that all the time? I know we've been programmed from very little to believe that we shouldn't trust that instinct, because our mind has the ability and the capacity to reason and to let us know what's good for us. But now we're understanding that that's not so. That our mind is pretty much like a hard drive in your computer. Whatever is not programmed in that hard drive the computer is not able to give you the answers that you want. Have you ever written some information in the search and the computer has come back as I do not recognize it? And what it does is it can bring different links of what considers similar to that information. But that's about the best it can do. Our mind does the same thing. As a matter of fact, we can be in the present moment here now, and all of a sudden, something happens in front of us. And if whatever is happening is making us feel threatened, your mind is going to bring information of something that happened to you in the past that is very close to what's happening here now, and is going to make you believe that this event in the present moment is going to be pretty much like the one you had before. And it's just quite incredible, because although this event that is happening here may seem similar, it will never be exactly the same as to what you had before. But yet, your mind, our mind, will give you the best story there is to make you believe so. Now, we shouldn't be angry to our mind, because our mind was created to do that. It was created to keep you safe. It was created to keep your personality safe. Especially if the mind feels that your nerve system is in a state of fight and fright. So, how do we know the differences between our mind and our inner being? Well, for a moment, think about how many thoughts goes through your head. And in the middle of those thoughts, in between those thoughts, many times as you're going about your day, you're asking yourself questions. There are things that you need to do, things that you're expected to do, and there are times where you're trying to figure your way through all of this vibration. Remember, thoughts are vibration, emotions are vibration, and everything that is happening around you is representing a type of energy, a type of vibration. Now imagine, the physical world are the ones that you see, but imagine what it's like in the non-physical. And don't you think that you're affected by that energy? Of course we are. So we're not only affected by the things that we see and the things that we experience, but we're also affected by the things that we don't see. Because our physical world, our physical reality, is created from the non-physical. And that's a very good thing to know. So let me say this in a different way. Everything that happens to you, it didn't happen first in the physical reality. It happened first in the world of vibration. And what you had to do was vibrate your antenna. Basically, it vibrated in a particular way that it attracted through your thoughts and emotions that information. You took it in, and you decided to translate it, and then we take action. Okay? So we receive the information by the desire that we have in knowing something. And then you get into a receiving mode. You have to be open and receptive to receive the information. What happens is that a lot of times we don't know that this process is taking place, and we're asking questions, but we forget how to listen. And what we do is that we're constantly talking, And we're constantly listening to what our mind is saying, because the mind is that type of computer, that type of receiver, that when it hasn't been adjusted to do what it's really meant to do, it has the ability to echo back what it knows. It's kind of like your radio when it's trying to tune in into a particular station and it picks up a lot of noise. That noise is your mind. Another thing that we've done with our mind is that our mind has the ability to memorize things. We have sort of relied quite a bit on our mind, and we're constantly depending on the reasoning aspect of the mind and the memorizing aspect of the mind to resolve most of our challenges, because this is what we've been taught. When in reality, the mind is not equipped to do that for long periods of time. So your mind is constantly receiving information, but it's also translating it so that we can verbalize what we know. But the mind is not created to make decisions. Okay? Our inner being, on the other hand, speaks very different than our mind. Our inner being, for the most part, is very quiet, very silent, very tranquil. And because it's the part of us that is connected to the source of all knowledge, or all knowing, all that is, it can see anywhere or anything. While your mind can't. Because again, our mind can only see the physical world. Our inner being is connected to the world of vibration, to that source of all knowledge, of all energy. And it has the ability vibrationally to pick up information in an energy form, in a vibrational form. And because it can see, and it knows so well what's available, it doesn't have to rush. It doesn't have to lose the equanimity. It doesn't have to worry, because it just knows. And it knows that everything is a matter of matching frequencies. So when you have a question, or when you ask because you have a desire, there's something you want really bad in your life, you put that information out there. I want this. If you get an answer right away from your head, that is not your inner being. And if you pay closer attention, right after that answer, you're going to get a story. And that story sometimes can be very good, or it could be very negative. A lot of times, we don't pay attention to that story. The reason being is because many of the stories that we have in our head are thoughts that we have chosen to think over and over again, and it has become second nature. In the same way that your body moves and you don't have to, or your mind doesn't have to tell your body to move all the time, to move the muscles, it just does it voluntarily. It just knows. We have a lot of stories in our head that are second nature to us, And unfortunately, those stories that have, are negative in nature, they're like denser energies. We've become so used to them that we have learned to feel that energy, feel that vibration emotionally, and not be bothered by it. Have you ever heard someone speak very nice words, but yet, as they're speaking, there's something you feel about them that you don't like? That is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. We have learned to say many wonderful things when we're not feeling good. But we do it all the time. And you can do that because you have free will. We have free will. But you live in a vibrational reality with certain natural laws. And those natural laws, whether you believe them or not, they still exist. And this natural law, one of them, is known as the law of attraction. And the law of attraction states that whatever vibration you got going on, that's what you will attract. Exactly the same. So knowing this, wouldn't you start paying a little bit more attention about what you're thinking? Because your emotions are describing what's in your head. So your mind can think, and then the body receives that information in the way that the body receives information from your environment. So the body is not only receiving information from your head, it's also receiving information from your surroundings. And it's receiving information from the physical aspect and the non-physical. Your head, on the other hand, is picking up things that are happening to you in the physical reality, but also it's sometimes bringing information of things that happened from the past. And this is what happens. A lot of times, we're missing out on the opportunities that are coming here right now because we are so caught up in stories that happened an hour ago, or a day ago, or a year ago, or maybe 20, that we miss out in the moment. And the present moment is our moment of power. So this is why it's so important to train your mind to be present. This is why a lot of times we suggest meditation, because meditation is one of the tools that can help us become more present. And when we're more present, we're more receptive to the things that come our way. And we get to choose, because our vibration is always going up and down based on how we're feeling, based on how we're thinking. And sometimes we're thinking negative thoughts and we don't even know it. Sometimes we're talking with our friends, our coworkers, and we look very friendly, but we're not saying nice things. We're saying negative things. And what happens is that our words have power, and they definitely have the ability to confirm the way we feel in many cases. So if you're not feeling good and you're saying words that are describing the way you feel, even though you're saying them in a nice way, what do you think you're going to get? What do you think you're going to attract? And this is one of the things that people struggle quite a bit. And again, the question is always, how do I know when my mind is answering versus my inner being? And again, if you ask the question and there is an answer right away, it normally comes from your head all the time. And after that answer, a story comes, and it's normally a story that is to remind you of something that happened to you in the past, and that could be positive or it could be negative. Your inner being, on the other hand, it's very quiet. And one of the things I've noticed about myself is that if my inner being, if I'm feeling like I'm not processing any emotions, I feel quite agitated. It's like it feels weird not to feel any emotions because we have been trained to always be processing information constantly. Is that good? I'm going to say not always. Because the outcome of always processing information is that we get all that static in our head. And that's why sometimes people have difficult time going to sleep, because even when they're sleeping, their head is going, and they don't know how to stop their thoughts. So no, it's not a nice or positive thing. So do we always have to feel emotions? No. And this was one of the eye-opener for me, because when I'm not feeling emotions, and then how am I supposed to feel? And your inner being is totally cool, because it's always connected to the stream of all-knowing, and it knows that everything is all right, even when things are at ease. But when it sees that there is a match in vibration, it sends you information through intuition. All of a sudden you have this inner knowing that you cannot deny. And a lot of times we don't have words to describe that feeling. So we have that intuition, we have that gut instinct. And what happens is that your inner being is going to sort of give you the impulses to go somewhere or do something. And normally those things will not make sense to your mind. Your mind is going to say, why do I need to go there? Why do I have to do that? That is not even close to the thing that I want. So we start questioning and start reasoning, and all of a sudden we let our mind get in the way of those impulses, because your inner being will never give you the whole story. As a matter of fact, your inner being, in other words, it's sort of having fun. It's enjoying the journey. And where your mind sees obstacles, your inner being don't see that. It sees it as becoming more clear about what it is that you do not want as a personality. Okay? So when you have an obstacle that you might be complaining and regurgitating because you are repeating it over and over as to why it happened to you, your inner being is saying, oh, okay, I get it. That's not exactly what you wanted. I mean, this is what I picked up from you before, but now I can see that this is not what you want. So what do you want? A lot of times we're stuck, mentally stuck on what happened to us. And we have to figure out why it happened. And this is how we get lost in that energy. And we're creating more resistance. And we push back the right vibration of the thing that we want. So having something or having an obstacle is not necessarily a bad thing. But you have to learn to see it as that. It's just letting you know that, is this what you want? No, this is not what I want. And you need to continue in the path of allowing. A lot of times we tend to settle, okay? So I'm going to use this example. Sometimes we want a particular job. And we know that we want to make money. We know that we want certain things about this job. And we're like, okay, I want this job. And then opportunities come our way that are close enough but not exactly the same. And we tend to start questioning ourselves. And, okay, should I take it? I mean, yeah, I have some things that I really like, but other things I don't like. And we ended up talking ourselves into accepting something that is not completely what we want. And that is because we do not know that the reason why we have this opportunity is because as we were becoming the frequency of the energy of the job that we want, we still attracting vibration, and we attracted these opportunities that are close enough but are not the same thing. So you have to learn to know exactly what it is that you like. And I don't mean all the details. I mean more about how it is that you're going to feel with what you're trying to attract, and trusting and knowing that it'll happen. But you don't have to know when or how. You don't have to just write all the little details of how that's going to come about, because that is up to the universe. That's up to the law of attraction to deliver that for you. All you really have to be concerned is to always pay attention about how you feel. Tending to your emotions, making sure that your vibration and your energy is always in a good place. Because when we are joyful, when we are relaxed, when our nerve system is relaxed, our antenna is open. It's open to it's like we're plugged into that current of source energy. That's right. Our antenna becomes very refined and is just, receiving all the impulses and the information. And if you're not always asking, why do I have to go there? No, I don't feel like doing that. Or, that's not close to what I want. You will find that, you had to maybe go to the store, and in the store you were able to, that's how the universe connected you to the next thing and the next thing until you finally get what you want. So that's one of the things that I learned as I've used this understanding in my daily life. And it was that I didn't always have to know how things would manifest. That every thought that responded to my question, I didn't need to pay attention to it. That all I really needed to be aware is that my thoughts are vibrating in a good energy. That it is a priority to me to just always finding myself attracting or doing the things that make me feel good, even if it's just the smaller and most insignificant things. Sometimes, even when I'm at work and it's not necessarily where I would like it to be, but being able to surround myself to people that are in a good place. Getting up in the morning and doing prayers of appreciation is really become a great tool also, because it helps me to intentionally get my vibration going in a particular direction where it feels really positive. Doing that when I go to sleep is also very helpful. And I don't always remember, but when I do it, it's very powerful. Recently I had this experience happen to me that was quite incredible, and it relates to this. So I do this, meditation. I have a group meditation every Wednesday. And last Wednesday, there were about 10 people that came, and the energy was incredible. And after we were done with the meditation, we went to my parents' house, and a group of people, we kind of united, and we started to talk, and we were having a great time, and we had some food, delicious food, and this was like around noon after the meditation. And then we were playing some music, and all of a sudden we were dancing, and the energy was incredible. We were having incredible time. So after we were done, I went with my dad to get him the sticker for handicap. He's, in his late 80s, and he's struggling with the beginning of emphysema, and we wanted to get him, the sticker. Now, when you go to those offices of the government, most of the time there's long lines, people waiting, and you never go in and out. But we were in a good place, and we knew that we had to go there, and, we went there. So we got to this place, and you had to get a number. The number that they had called when we arrived was number 15. We got number 28. There was only one person behind the counter. All of a sudden, the woman started calling, 16, 17, 18. No one was there. She arrived to number 20. In the meantime, once in a while, I could see this young woman coming in and out, and she was kind of helping the woman behind the counter, so it seemed, and then she would leave, whatever. So we're waiting there, we're just minding our own business, and my father decides to lean forward with the application in her hand. All of a sudden, this young woman comes in, looks at my dad's application, takes it out of his hand, and asks a question that I didn't fully understand. But she takes the application behind the counter, she does the thing in the computer, and she comes out and she goes to my dad, just sign it, and I'm going to give you a copy. Just go home and it'll come in the mail. That's right. So we left the place and my father hugged me and kissed me. He goes, boy, your energy is something else. And I was like, I didn't do anything. Of course, my father doesn't understand the law of attraction as well as I do. But he sensed that something had happened, and maybe it was connected to the meditation that we have done. Of course, everything was connected because we're never disconnected, even when our mind makes us think that we are. But all I know is that there were people in front of us with a number, and we got to be taken care of right away. No one said anything, no one complained. But we got what we wanted. Now, it gets better. So we finished there, we get in the car, and I had to go and get my city sticker. Here in Illinois, you need a city sticker that you get once a year, and in June 31st is due. So my father says, there's a location that you can go and you don't get charged extra for the sticker. So I said, okay, where is it? And he goes, well, it's down this street, but he couldn't remember the other street. I said, okay. And he goes, don't worry, I'm going to guide you. Okay, so I start driving, and I was supposed to make a left turn, and I didn't. I continue on that road, and after 3 miles, we both realized, wait a minute, I didn't make a turn. And all of a sudden, my dad goes, I think you're lost. And he goes, well, you have to get into this, you have to find this street that I told you. And I said, Dad, don't worry, we'll get it. The name of the street, one of the streets was called Pulaski. We make a left turn, and the next street over was Pulaski. Now, apparently we had taken a street that was diagonal, and all we had to do was just make a left, and that street that he was talking about was right there. If we would have gone the other way, it would have taken us longer to get to this street. So now we get to the intersection, and my father says, you got to make a right because we have to get to this other street. And I said, Dad, the street that you're telling me is not to the right, it's to the left. And he goes, yes, it is to the right. And I said, no, it isn't. I know. So I made a left. As soon as I made the left, you guys, I looked to the right, and there was the sign of this place that my dad was looking for. I told my dad, is that the place? And he goes, oh my God, it is. And we were both like, wow. So being lost, according to the mind, to my inner being, was the right place. It was the right path. And this is how your inner being works all the time. But the question we need to ask is, who are we listening to? Our head or our inner being? I hope my video helps you next time you're struggling trying to figure out who is talking, from whom are you receiving the information. Also remember that when you're struggling, when you're upset, when you're disappointed, and when you are feeling like something is off, it is not the moment to make any decisions, because in that moment you are plugged off, you are disconnected from the source of all knowing. Before you get to make those decisions, you gotta make sure and you gotta make a priority to find yourself shifting into a better mood. It doesn't matter how you get there. Most likely the easiest thing is to do things that makes you feel better. By thinking about the problem and trying to dissect the problem is not going to get you there vibrationally. So you got to do things that are going to get your mind off that. And when you feel a little better, your energy has shifted enough for you to become once again receptive and receive the information. Remember, asking is an energy and receiving is another energy. And you cannot be asking and be able to receive at the same time. Impossible. So you have to learn how to allow for things to unfold in front of you. Trust the process. Know that you already know what you want and you're going to get it, even though it has not manifested yet. And as you go about your day, as you pay attention to all the events that come your way, you get to decide which one you're going to engage or not. And eventually, you will get exactly what you want. It's not going to be when your mind thinks you need to. It's not going to be when your expectations are telling you that it has to. It's going to be when the vibrations are aligned so that everything or everyone involved in your asking benefits from it. Just remember that. Another thing to remember is that you create your reality. And whether you are creating something positive or negative, you're still creating it. So if that is the case, you better pay attention about the thoughts that you are hearing from your mind, because your body hears those thoughts even when you're not paying attention. And if those thoughts are negative, imagine what's happening to the cells of your body. They're translating that energy. And a lot of times when you're feeling down, that's why you feel so tired. Because the energy that your mind and your emotions are vibrating are low vibrational energy. So we need to make sure that we're constantly, paying attention to the things that we're feeling. And when we cannot change them because it's just too uncomfortable, go to sleep. Abraham Hicks talks about this. Just go to sleep. Go to sleep and you will wake up feeling better. Alright, my friends, I hope you enjoy my video. If you have any questions, you can leave a comment underneath my video, or you can email me at createharmonywithlove@gmail.com. Until next time, have fun, be good, and enjoy your life. Thanks for watching.